Don Lorenzo might get a downgrade instead of Neil Isagi. So I've been reading through the comments from the last video, and honestly, there's been a ton of debate about Don Lorenzo. A lot of people are saying he should either get downgraded or at least buffed. And I get where they're coming from, but let's break it down a bit. If you didn't catch my last video about why Neil Isagi might get downgraded, here's the quick rundown. It's not guaranteed, but it's a real possibility simply because there are already too many world-class styles in the game. And yeah, this is one of those cases where the meta matters more than the story, because Don Lorenzo being new-gen doesn't automatically protect him from adjustments. Now, Don is clearly new-gen, and that alone makes him kind of immune compared to someone like Isagi if the devs do decide to adjust the world-class count. But here's the thing, this isn't about the manga or who's the main character. In-game, what matters is the moveset, how playable a character is, and how they fit into the current meta. And when you look at it from that perspective, there's a lot of discussion among the community about how Neil Isagi might actually be mechanically stronger than Don in certain situations. People are really split on this, and it's easy to see why. Hey, but before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a like if you haven't already. Seriously, it really helps me stay motivated to keep putting out daily videos. And trust me, there's a lot coming up that you don't want to miss. Alright, let's get into it. Some fans are firmly in the Don should be downgraded or buffed camp, mainly because they feel like he doesn't fit the world-class style template. He's not a striker like most world-class characters, and that makes him less appealing to some players, even though he's actually really enjoyable to use. His playstyle is smooth, satisfying, and versatile once you get used to it, but people often overlook that because he's not racking up goals like a Nell Rin or Kaiser. And yeah, you can argue that Sei isn't a striker either, but the difference is, Sei has the flexibility to play solo effectively and still make a huge impact. Don, on the other hand, doesn't have a reliable shot outside of his awakening abilities. You could technically score with golden defense using your head, but that's more situational and defensive than offensive. And don't forget, Don has been buffed in the past, but it honestly wasn't enough. Then he got slightly nerfed after that, and now he's kind of in this awkward space where he's usable, but he's not dominating the meta in any meaningful way. That's why so many people are talking about him potentially needing a rework or some serious buffs to bring him back up. At the same time, it's important to note that nothing is officially confirmed. We don't know for sure if any world-class characters will get downgraded just because Charles is about to drop. But based on what I've seen and heard from the official Discord community, there's definitely a concern that having too many world classes could force some adjustments. So while it's not set in stone, it's smart to at least prepare for the possibility that changes might come. Now, looping back to Isagi, this is where things get really interesting. With Charles coming in and almost guaranteed to be world class, the total number of world class styles in the game is going to shoot up. And that's exactly why there's chatter that someone might have to be downgraded. Don Lorenzo isn't really on the chopping block, mostly because of that new-gen protection we talked about, but Neil Isagi, he's the perfect candidate. Mechanically, he's currently one of the weaker world classes, at least when you compare direct shots, dash abilities, and meta vision against the newer world classes and even some mythics. And I've seen plenty of comments from people saying that in practice, Isagi actually feels stronger than Don in several matchups, which is why the community is so split. Again, both of them can be candidates for downgrading, but hey, let's see. The debate is really twofold. On one side, some players argue that Isagi should stay as world-class because he's the main character, he's iconic, and he still brings value in team comps. On the other side, people point out that mechanically he's underperforming compared to other options. His direct shot isn't as aimable, his dash isn't as fast or versatile as Baru or Shidu, and Metavision doesn't provide the same kind of field control or predictive advantage that other characters' skills do. Plus, with the newer styles like Nell Rin, Nell Nagi, and even Kaiser dominating, Isagi's relevance is slipping, which feeds into the downgrade rumors. But here's the catch. Even if Don Lorenzo or Isagi does end up getting downgraded, it doesn't automatically mean they become irrelevant or completely useless. Far from it, actually. They still carries a lot of value in specific situations and team setups, especially if you know how to use their abilities properly. Their awakening skills are solid and can turn the tide in certain plays, and still have a good cutscenes. So yeah, The main issue, however, is that the meta has shifted so quickly that their current skill set hasn't evolved at the same pace. Without some kind of adjustment, whether that's a straight-up buff, subtle tweaks, or even a full refresh, they risk falling behind compared to the newer, more optimized world-class and mythic players. From what I've been reading in the community and following the chatter on the official Discord, it seems like the community is actively considering it. They could go the route of thinking that the devs will downgrade them, or they could do a refresh similar to what they did with Sei, which honestly could be the best outcome for maintaining balance and keeping Don, Lorenzo, and Isagi viable, and honestly, I personally agree with that. A refresh would give them the chance to stay relevant in high-level play while still maintaining his unique strengths. But let's circle to Don Lorenzo, even though he's a new gen and technically safe from any kind of downgrade, isn't without his own set of challenges. Again, I'm going to repeat it. One of the main reasons he's often overlooked is that he isn't a striker, and in a meta that heavily favors strikers and offensive dominance, that makes him less immediately appealing to casual and even competitive players. But here's the thing, once you actually play him, you quickly realize how satisfying and fun he is. His control is very precise, his movement feels fluid, and he has this underappreciated versatility that isn't always obvious at first glance. The real problem is that without a proper offensive shot outside of his awakening, he doesn't fully align with the traditional world-class mold, and yeah, he is a defense type of player, and that's why he isn't popular. That's why a lot of people in the community are advocating for a buff or some kind of tweak to bring him more in line with current meta expectations. And I totally understand that perspective because in the right hands, Don could be incredibly effective, and it's kind of a shame that he doesn't get the attention he deserves. He's one of those characters that can shine if given the right tools, but otherwise, he ends up feeling overshadowed by flashier or more aggressive world-class options. So, to wrap all of this up and give you a clear picture, nothing is officially confirmed yet. No dev announcement has stated that any world-class character is going to be downgraded simply because Charles is about to drop. That said, the possibility is definitely there, and it's been a hot topic in the community for weeks now. If a downgrade does happen, Niel Isagi is the most likely candidate given the current number of world-class styles in the game, while Don Lorenzo remains mostly safe thanks to his new-gen status. That being said, even Don isn't fully optimized for the evolving meta, so both characters could still benefit from some adjustments to stay relevant and competitive in high-level play. Now, here's where I want to hear from you. Are you in the camp that thinks Isagi will actually get downgraded, or do you believe the devs will hold off and instead give him a proper refresh to keep him viable? And what about Don Lorenzo? Should he receive buffs, remain as is, or maybe even get a small adjustment to bring him more in line with other world-class options? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I know there's a ton of opinions out there, and this is one of the most interesting discussions happening right now, with the update fast approaching. And just to repeat, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Your support really keeps me motivated to release these daily updates and analyses. Alright, that's it for this deep dive breakdown. Keep your eyes on the meta, pay attention to how the new world-class and mythic players are shaking things up, and get ready for some serious gameplay shifts. Isagi's future could realistically go either way, and Don might still surprise everyone if he receives the right tweaks or adjustments. Either way, stick around, because this upcoming update is going to be huge. We're going to see a lot of new discussions, debates, and strategies unfold once Charles drops, and I can't wait to see how it all plays out. I'll catch you all in the next video, and until then, stay hyped and stay ready to adapt.